Okay, you're good to go.
Thanks, Sharon, and welcome everyone to the November 4th, 2020 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open this evening with the roll call. Mr. Urice is absent. Ms. Hofstetter.
Here.
Mr. Kiokio.
Here.
Mr. Sylvain.
Here.
Mr. Renz is absent. Mr. Haas, absent. And Chairman Finaldi is here. We will not seat any alternates for Mr. Urice as there are none in attendance. However, we do have a quorum, so we are okay. Before I move to acceptance of the minutes, again, my standard introduction. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Just a heads up, if you do call in, we may have to ask you to mute your phone to avoid an echo. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and other materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. Commission members, the minutes of the October 21st, 2020 meeting were previously distributed. Unless there's any questions or corrections, I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the October 21st, 2020 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Again, we will be taking roll call votes. As annoying as they are, we really can't have everybody speaking at the same time on a Zoom meeting. So again, I will be taking a vote. A yes vote is to accept the minutes. A no vote is to not accept the minutes. Ms. Hofstetter.
Yes.
Mr. Kiokio.
Yes.
Mr. Sylvain.
Yes.
And Chairman Finaldi votes yes. The minutes are accepted. See, when we have a smaller meeting, there's less roll call votes to take, which works out quite nicely. All right. Our next regular meeting will be a virtual meeting scheduled for November 18th, 2020. Before we move on, just want to make sure everybody received from, I think either Sharon or Jennifer, the POCD meeting agenda. A reminder that that will be taking place on Tuesday, November 17th at 4 p.m. Pretty exciting stuff. We retained a really good firm, and I'm looking forward to dealing with them. This is a big deal. And, you know, you all know what the POCD is. That's our Bible, if you'll forgive me. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, hope everybody can attend on Tuesday night, November 17th at 4 p.m. I think you'll enjoy working with these people. They're top-notch professional land use people, planners, urban planners, very sharp people. I think you're going to like that. So that's good. Okay, looking at our agenda, there are no new public hearings. So we will move right to continuation of public hearing item 1, West Myrie Holdings LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for aircraft hangar, aircraft maintenance, flight instruction and storage in the IL40 zone, 49 Myrie Brook Road, F19004, special exception number 778. And again, the materials for this meeting, including the staff report, were previously distributed at our last meeting and are again available on the city website. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Ben.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Benjamin Dodo, licensed professional engineer, 248 Main Street, representing the applicant. This hearing opened on October 21st. We went over the application, addressed any of the outstanding comments that were available at that time. Mike Safranek was at that meeting. He updated the commission on a lot of the airport issues from the inside of the fence. As we discussed, this is a proposed hangar on a 3.6 acre IL40 piece and includes the demolition of some older buildings as well, including one hangar and one industrial building. Since the last meeting, we have received memos from the building department and the fire marshal. They both signed off, so those were clean letters. And then just today, we received a letter from the engineering department. I don't know if you have it.
They don't, Ben.
They don't. Okay.
No.
So you want me to go over it, Jen, or?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you want to, and don't forget about the construction services comments.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's
Forgot
okay.
about that. I'm in a 1 week gap here. We did receive construction services comments at the end of last week. On Monday, I made some revisions and submitted them back to Jennifer and you guys. Rob Barone had some comments, mainly outside the fence comments related to repairing curbing, putting concrete aprons in, placing a catch basin, taking down a dead tree out in front of the site. So we agreed to all of his comments. The only comment that we didn't agree to was he asked if the guardrails should be straightened up and fixed in front of the site. We felt that wasn't our responsibility. The guardrails are actually in pretty good condition. There's a couple that are a little crooked, but again, that's, as far as we're concerned, that's not something that we should have to do with this. The site is on a curve, and that's probably why the city years ago installed the guardrail there. The guardrail's functioning. It's not an old wood and cable one. It's a metal guardrail. So I talked to Rob about that before and told him that was going to be, and he seemed fine with it. And again, this isn't something that Abdul asked for in his memo either. So we responded to that. Kelly's comments today mainly had to do with underground items, water, sewer. I'm just going to go over the comments of her letter because we didn't have time to respond to them. So she asked a question about the existing building. There's a water service to the existing building. She asked what that was for. It's basically there's a sprinkler service on the front building, but then there's also a domestic service that's used for maintenance. She asked if the building has a septic system. It doesn't. It's not on sewer, so there are no sinks and drains or anything like that in this building. As I had mentioned at the last building, we're hoping someday in the not too distant future that sewer does get brought to the project area. My guess is if it does happen, it'll be an assessed project, and then the applicant would love to connect the buildings to city sewer. But as of now, the soils do not allow us to put septic systems in there. They don't meet current septic code no matter what we do for new buildings. So again, the proposal is not to put any septic systems in. There's really no need to on these airport hangars. It's not uncommon not to. Her next comment had to do with fire flow. That's something our MEP engineer has to provide some additional information regarding the fire protection calculations he did for the rear building. But again, that's not any issue that should affect the site plan. And then Kelly did question, we do show on our plan a new water service going to the back building. The intent was, for now, it was going to be a hose bib, be used for maintenance purposes. And someday, if we do get sewer, we would run it inside because our intent is to rough plumb these buildings, at least for sewer under the slab. So we don't have to rip up the slab someday. But Kelly did mention that it's a gray issue whether it's considered irrigation water or a water service. So we may end up taking that service off because the city's connection fee alone would be like $35,000. That's a lot for a hose bib, especially when we have one there already at the other building. So that's something I'll address in kind, and maybe it makes more sense to bring the water service to the building at the time we get sewer to the building someday. But we are going to prepare accordingly. The existing building in the back, the mysterious number 41 that's going away, she asked about its water service. It does have a water service, but it's been disconnected. It was, in the past, it was part of the adjacent site where Wags Doggy Daycare and Kennel is. They were connected, sort of an old-fashioned connection, 2 buildings to 1 meter. That was disconnected when Wags moved in and renovated. I'll confirm with the Wibblings that that was the case because they were the previous owner and they took care of that before the property was transferred, but I'm almost 100% sure that was disconnected. So we'll just add a note on the plan that that was the case. Kelly just wants to make sure there isn't a live service going to a building that is going to be demolished. So we would have to take care of that anyway. She had one comment on storm drainage. There is some underground piping I have to make some adjustments to, but the actual system itself, there were no comments on the size of the detention system, both the existing one and proposed. So that's a minor comment that can be addressed. She asked if the dry well systems have been maintained. As far as I'm concerned, they have been. I looked in them. They appear to be functioning fine on site. But that's something that during construction, when we're making our connections, we'll check into that as well. Has the airport administrator received a copy of the plans and calculations? Yes, he has. We did talk to Mike about this as far as drainage. We didn't want to run any storm drains out into the edge of the taxiway or anything like that. So what we did is we connected our roof drains from the new building into the existing system that's on our site, but we also put a bigger detention system. So we're actually, and our calculations show this, we're reducing our peak flows to the existing storm sewer system with respect to this. And then Kelly asked about refuse and recycling. It's not our intent to put a dumpster inside the fence here and have garbage trucks coming in. There's no need for that at a hangar building like this. Each individual tenant or user can take care of their own trash. So that's really all of Kelly's comments. I've addressed Rob's comments. I see Mike is here. I hope he has no new additional comments. And on the most recent plans, we did make the adjustments to the gate and the back, the egress only gate. We made that a sliding gate located at the edge of the building, and we added the pedestrian. I can actually show that just briefly here, if you don't mind. Let me. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So what we did was this here is the sliding gate. Initially it was back here and it was a swinging gate, and the gate is just going to slide along the building like that. And it's going to be tied to the system here. And then we added a pedestrian access right here. So if someone were to get dropped off, they could just walk from the right into the site. Again, that'll be secured and part of the system that Mike described last time. So those are all, I think we've addressed all the comments with respect to this. And like I said, Kelly's comments, I'll address those in kind, but again, none of her comments will affect the actual site plan.
Thanks, Ben.
Yes.
Any questions for Ben at this time, commission members? Anything for Ben?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Perry.
and it's not a question so much for Ben as for the department, but in Rob's comments about sidewalks, it's not that I disagree with his comments, because that's a very tight corner. I don't see where there'd be a lot of room. But in driving by there, I was curious. It looked like a couple parcels down, it had been required to have some frontage sidewalk and some landscaping. I'm just curious what the decision was then versus now, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, if I can answer that.
Please.
I had a lengthy discussion with Rob about the sidewalks, and one, it's a tough corner, and with the guardrail, there really didn't seem an appropriate, and the security fence, an appropriate location for that sidewalk. I think the one further down may have been certainly before me. It wasn't anything that I reviewed, so I want to say it was probably maybe late 90s, early 2000s. We talked about possible connections. It didn't. And we're trying to get away from asking for sidewalks that go to nowhere with no possible connections. If you look further down, the chance of a connection through there is tough because there's no right of way through there. you go across the street maybe, but then you're crossing the street to get to the sidewalk across, and then to get back over. So we kind of felt it wasn't prudent to ask for sidewalks in this instance. And again, the chief reason, it's a tough corner, and to push that guardrail back or to put the sidewalk between the security fence and the guardrail, it didn't seem prudent to ask for that. And we'd rather have the aprons, removal of the tree, and the catch basin. We felt were the improvements to the scope of the project.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was just surprised to see the the disconnected portion there. It ends in a ditch or a drain or something.
Yeah, and then it ends at the airport at that point. So again, you start looking at, and we always, we have this discussion, where do you start? You have to start somewhere. And my favorite example is Beaverbrook Road. We started sidewalks at, I think it was when the methadone clinic came in. And now we have sidewalks almost all the way down to the Danbury Administration Building, the school district administration building. So again, you start to build it. And the same with Federal Road. We started at one point and now you can see them all the way down past Ingersoll. But that's a heavy arterial road. Sidewalks make sense there. In this case, Myrie Brook it's a narrow road. There's not a lot of right of way. It's a winding road. And there's a mishmash of sidewalks. The connections just don't seem to be there.
The dog park's the only real destination anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you'd have to cross the street at that point, and then I think there's single family homes over there. So there was no true way to build a connection through that whole corridor.
Thank you. That's fair.
Any other questions for Ben or Jennifer at this time? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Mike, we went easy on you tonight. Is there anything you wanted to add, or are you okay? You're
muted, Mike.
Sorry, I'm good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the lengthy presentation and you guys doing so much for this. Thank you.
Sorry that Joel Urice isn't here to give you a hard time tonight, Mike. Well,
Joel's been doing that for 25 years. I'm used to it.
All right. So Jennifer, we have heard from building. We have heard from the fire marshal. Ben presented engineering tonight. Is there anyone else we're waiting for?
No. So at this point, we have the building department, the fire marshal, construction services, the engineering department. You have my comments, which I didn't have any comments. I didn't ask for any revisions. So the only outstanding comments we have are the engineering department's staff report. I spoke to Kelly earlier. There were no showstoppers. She didn't see a reason why. If the commission wanted to close, if you gave guidance to add a condition to comply with her comments before the issuance of any permits.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear that. All right, commission members, you heard what Jennifer had to say. We're pretty much wrapped up with this one. We don't have a formal letter from engineering, but Jennifer's conversation with Kelly certainly mentioned there is no showstopper.
Mr. Chairman, we do in fact have a formal letter. We just don't have a sign off because it came in today and Ben didn't have a chance to make those. That's it. I don't have a printed copy myself. It was just, I think it came in at 4 o'clock today, so it was too late to send it to the commission. I felt. But again, Ben will, once the commission, if the commission gives guidance for an approval, it'll be conditioned, and then Ben can respond to Kelly's comments.
Okay.
And I'm just going to add, in addition to the letter, Kelly and I also had a discussion both yesterday and today as she was preparing her letter, because sometimes her comments are more questions than anything. So I feel comfortable that we could address all of these after speaking with her too.
Thanks, Ben.
Yes.
Commission members, unless there's anything else or any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made, seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will try your minds again. A yes is to close, a no is not to close. Ms. Hostetter,
Yes.
Mr. Kiokio,
Yes.
Mr. Sylvain,
Yes.
and Chairman Finaldi votes yes. The public hearing is closed. Now, Jen, should we move this to item 1 or under old business for discussion and then give you guidance? Would that be proper?
Yes, please.
Okay, commission members, I'll entertain a motion to move this matter to item 1 under our old business agenda.
So moved.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to move this to number 1, item 1 under our old business agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will once again try your minds. A yes is to move it to old business, and no is not to move it to old business. Ms. Hostetter,
Yes.
Mr. Kiokio,
Yes.
Mr. Sylvain,
Yes.
and Chairman Finaldi votes yes. And this will appear as item 1 under old business, which is exactly where we are right now on our agenda. I'll be really glad when we can stop doing these roll call votes. They're annoying. But anyway, item 1, old business for discussion and possible action, West Myrie Holdings LLC. Application for special exception site plan approval for aircraft hangar, aircraft maintenance, flight instruction and storage in the IL40 zone, 49 Myrtlebrook Road, F19004, special exception 778. Again, commission members, this is a discussion to give Jennifer guidance. And anyone that wants to make a comment, feel free to do so.
All right, I'll go first. It sounds like, well, I think it looks good. I think there's some additional comments from Ben needed to respond to Kelly formally in the proceedings. But I'm for it as a go, so.
Thank you, Helen. Anyone else want to weigh in or?
All my questions have been answered. I have no issue.
Thanks, Perry. Bob,
I
you're
agree.
up.
Yep, I'm okay. I agree with Helen. As long as the comments are addressed satisfactorily, I'm fine with everything.
Yeah, as am I. I drove by the site prior to our previous public hearing, and it's a kind of an old broken down building. Be good to see that gone. And of course, we know that Mike has no objections from the airport's perspective. It's probably the most important thing. So there's your guidance, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Okay, and we're going to keep moving right to referrals. Thanks, Mike. Mike, thank you for your help on this. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
everyone. Thanks,
Okay.
Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
You too, Ben. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Okay, referral number 1, 83A, petition of the City of Danbury by Sharon Calitro, Planning Director, to amend Section 2B and 6A5D of the zoning regulations, amend definition of continuing care facility, and delete independent units in said facilities in the IL40 zone. Public hearing scheduled for November 24th, 2020. Again, commission members, Sharon's report dated 10/29 was previously distributed. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at that. And I'll turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yes, on behalf of the city, we submitted a petition to amend the zoning regulations so that we could delete the reference to the independent units in continuing care facilities in the IL40 zone. I have to stop for a moment because somebody's trying to, this is like being the applicant and the host. So let me just see who this person is. Stephen Courtney, anybody recognize him?
Nope,
Let me find out who it is. So I'm just going to go on hold.
no problem.
Okay. Mr. Courtney, you're here at the Planning Commission for the City of Danbury. Are you just here to listen? Got to unmute yourself. Or not. Hello? Okay. All right. Well, he's muted.
Yes.
Oh, there he is. Hi.
Yes, just to listen. Sorry.
Just to listen. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm gonna mute you. Okay. Sorry about that. So, so the reason we submitted this petition, so let me step back. What this requires is an amendment to section 2B, which is the definition section of continuing care facilities to clarify that the independent units are not allowed in the continuing care facilities, which are built in the IL-40 zone. And then an amendment to 6A5D, which is the IL-40 zoning regulation. And then we would just delete the independent units from that special exception use. And the reason for the amendment was to be clear that we are not condoning any interpretation that residential units are allowed in industrial zones. An industrial zone is an industrial zone. They should go into residential units. The continuing care facility requires both a nursing home component and a congregate housing component. Neither of those in section 2 of the zoning regulations are considered dwelling units. So again, we didn't want anybody to interpret that an independent unit, which could be, you don't have to have it, you have to have the other two, but you don't have to have independent units in a continuing care facility. But if you wanted to, we didn't want anyone to think that that would mean we're allowing just residential units in the industrial zone. And you know, in all of your years of working, how things can get interpreted different ways. So that was the reason for it. And by adding the language to the definition, excluding it from the IL-40 zone, still then allows it in other zones to have independent units. You just can't have it in the industrial zone. And again, it doesn't preclude a continuing care facility from being constructed in an industrial zone. You just can't have these independent units. And again, pursuant to my the memo, as you may or may not know, we have one facility. It's up on Worcester Heights Road that is under construction right now. That facility does have some independent units. So that would mean that that component of the use, now remember, the use is a continuing care facility, and it has 3 separate components. It has a nursing home, it has a congregate care section, and it has independent units. So for purposes of zoning, only the independent units, the existence of those independent units would be considered non-conforming. Now, in that facility on Worcester, they are pretty much maxed out on the density allowed for independent units. So really, there's not much, you know, it's not a significant impact to delete from zoning on them. And we do feel that it helps, pursuant to the POCD recommendation, eliminate uses that are inconsistent with or potentially conflict with the purpose and intent of the district, which is the IL-40 zone. And again, protects the city from some potential misinterpretation that by virtue of letting these independent units, and again, they may not function as we all think as a real dwelling unit, but I don't want, and we don't want anybody to think that means, oh, you can have an apartment unit in industrial zone, because that's really not what, you know, it's part of a bigger facility. And we again, we feel it does not impact the ability to construct continuing care facilities in IL-40 zones, because you still can do it with the other 2 components, and it doesn't negatively impact the health, welfare, and safety of the general public. So for that reason, we urge you to issue a positive referral on this for the zoning commission.
Thanks, Sharon. Quick question, of the one that got approved, the one on Worcester you referred to, how many independent residential dwelling units are there?
I have the answer to that question. There are 54 independent units there.
Okay. All right.
And I think they're allowed 55. So, but
Okay.
their building is completely occupied by all various components. So I don't know that
Yeah.
they could possibly even squeeze another unit in there, even if they wanted to. And they could have maxed it out if they wanted to, and they chose not to. So again, I mean, for their purposes, and the impact to them, I really don't think it's anything significant. There's 140 total units at that facility. 63 are assisted, and 22 are in the memory care, which is the nursing home component of it. These
Yeah.
63 would be considered the congregate, and then there's 54 independent units.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Sharon? Good, nice straightforward report. Seems very clear what your intent is here. Okay, commission members, if everyone's clear on what's going on, I guess we're in a position to make a positive or negative referral on this matter. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral for this.
Motion made for a positive referral. Do I hear a second?
Second, from Perry.
Second, Sylvain. And Joanne, for the reasons, you probably need some reasons, Bob, just, you want just clarification, conformance with the POCD, you want to throw something in there?
Sure, for all those reasons, conformity with the POCD, clarification, make sure that there's not any residential in the IL-40 zone.
Great, thank you. Okay. Joanne, those reasons good enough for you? A thumbs up, we got a thumbs up, okay. So there's been a motion and a second for a positive referral on this matter. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'll take a vote. A yes is for a positive referral, a no is not for a positive referral. Ms. Hostetter,
Yes.
Mr. Kiokio,
Yes,
Mr. Sylvain,
Yes.
and Chairman Finaldi votes yes. So this matter gets a positive referral to our friends over at the zoning commission. Okay. There's nothing under new business correspondence or other matters. So unless there's anything else, I think we are in a position to adjourn. And I'll entertain a motion to do that. Nobody wants to adjourn?
Mr. Chair,
That's okay with me.
I'll make that motion to adjourn. One last comment.
Yes.
You need to change the clock, the time on the clock behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I was going to ask Mike what kind of plane was behind his head there. That was an interesting plane.
I got to clean this office. It's getting really bad.
So funny.
I wanted to see who was paying attention. Bob, you win. Congratulations.
I'll
You get the
second-
prize.
If we need a second, I'll give it.
Yes, we do. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. I will take the roll call vote. Ms. Hostetter,
Yes.
Mr. Kiokio,
Yes.
Sylvain,
Yes.
Chairman Finaldi votes yes.